if we sort of agree to this larger set of rules, whether it's natural law or these sort of further developed ideas, um, we can have a bit of harmony. And I think if we look at the Western world, we generally have that. But when you have a paradigm like the Western liberal democracy, now it's going up against someone like Russia or China who have a fundamentally different viewpoint. That clash becomes more obvious. Those assumptions are not the same, right?
That's right, and this is where Kant wrote an essay called "Perpetual Peace." And he thought that he would be able to come up with these rules that would enable countries to live side by side. Okay, and of course we do have the United Nations. That's something that started after the end of the Second World War. We have the Universal Declaration of Human Rights that was put together by such people as Charles Malik of Lebanon, Jacques Maritain, Eleanor Roosevelt, and other luminaries who believed that it was possible to come up with a kind of rules-based international order. We do have something along those lines. We have the United Nations. We have a whole stack of United Nations resolutions on various issues such as Israel-Palestine issue. My father's home island of Cyprus is divided and has been since 1974 between Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots. Turkish Cypriots in the north and Greek Cypriots in the south. There's some UN resolutions on the Cyprus issue as well. But it's also true that as Samuel Huntington pointed out in the 1990s, that the world is divided into various religiously based civilizations.
Yeah.
And what is assumed in one civilizational area is not necessarily going to be assumed in another civilizational area. And that complicates efforts to put together a rules-based international order.
Yeah. Well, and in one of Putin's recent speeches, it seems very clear that he is rejecting this world order and also sees it as highly corrupting. And so when you're talking about paradigm clashes at that level, the rejection of the world order and someone wanting to establish a new world order, is that a legitimate pushback, or is he taking too many steps, going too far in that regard?
There are a number of components that can go into answering that question, and I think what I will say that as far as Putin is concerned, he is drawing on this Russian tradition that some people have called Eurasianism. As opposed to the Western orientation of Peter the Great and some of his successors, like maybe Alexander II, the one who liberated the serfs in the 1860s. He would be seen as more of a Westernizer. I think Mikhail Gorbachev was a more Western-leaning figure as well. Yeltsin was kind of a transitional figure. Putin is not a Western-leaning figure at all. I think that's become more obvious. I think that was already present at the beginning of the century, but I think it's become even more. It's become more obvious, especially after he simply walked into the Crimean Peninsula on the Black Sea and took it over and held his sham referendum to
Yeah.
incorporate it into the Russian Federation. So this Eurasian vision that's an historic worldview that has vied with this Westernization for control of Russia.
Yeah.
This Eurasian vision is that somehow this Russia's destiny under God, or under historical determinism, if you're going back to the Soviet period, but the destiny of Russia is to knit together this diversity of people in the Eurasian continent, holding them together into this grand imperial entity, and
Yeah.
that's what Putin is drawing on. So it's not the West. They don't care about the West. They want to see Russia as being wholly Russia. Russia is its own civilization, and the rest of the world,
Mm.
they're pretty much excluded from Russia's viewpoint. Patriarch Kirill of the Patriarch of Moscow adheres to this vision as well. Maybe for very cynical reasons. He's basically Vladimir Putin's lapdog.
Yeah.
Uh, for his allegiance to to Christianity seems to come in second place to
Yeah.
his allegiance to Vladimir Putin. So,
Mm.
but this is something that goes back in Russian history. Nicholas the First, he was basically a kind of Eurasianist, if you will. In their own ways, I think, well, Alexander the Third, who was the father of the last Tsar, he was something of a Eurasianist. Possibly Nicholas the Second as well, but Nicholas was also had ties to other royal families in Europe. The Danish monarchy and also the British monarchy. George V, the late Queen's grandfather, was Nicholas II's first cousin. They
Yeah.
actually looked very much alike. They closely resembled each other. So, but nevertheless, this Eurasianism is something which has been a part of Russia for a very long time.